Ukrainian armed forces will pay a heavy price for invading the Kursk region. 3 days after the Ukrainian Armed Forces, UAF, launched their attack on the Kursk region, the contours of Ukraine's plan in this area are becoming clear. What exactly was this plan, and why is the outcome of this venture likely to be the loss of 2 strike brigades for the UAF, and possibly even parts of Ukraine's Sumy region? On August 8, Mikhail Podolyak, an advisor to the head of the Ukrainian President's office, stated that Ukraine invaded the border areas of Russia's Kursk region to improve its negotiating positions. According to him, only Russian losses in terms of people, equipment, and territory would positively influence negotiations. The UAF's advance into Russian territory was supposed to scare Russians. Initially, on August 6, the enemy operated with what was estimated to be 2 battalion tactical groups, BTGs. This is the up to 1,000 troops mentioned the day before by the Chief of the General Staff of the Russian Armed Forces, Valery Gerasimov. On August 7, the UAF deployed an additional BTG into the battle. The target of the attack was the Sudzha and Korenwebo districts of the Kursk region. The Ukrainian BTGs were reinforced with tanks and other armored vehicles from the 22nd Separate Mechanized Brigade, SMB, which had been re-equipped with Western weapons. The first blow was taken by Russian border guards. One of the peculiarities of the 22nd UAF Brigade is the abundance of engineering equipment, including German Biber bridge-laying vehicles based on Leopard tanks and engineering vehicles based on MTLB chassis. In other words, this is a specialized brigade designed for offensive operations in areas with numerous rivers and swamps. The second UAF unit reportedly involved in the invasion was the 88th SMB, also almost entirely equipped with Western vehicles. Simultaneously, local settlements came under attack by Ukrainian drones. Even an ambulance was targeted by a drone. During the first 2 days, there were various reports of the capture or imminent capture of the border town of Sudzha. However, on August 8, the situation in the town and the tactics of the Ukrainian BTGs became clearer. Sudzha is partially occupied, said Mikhail Gorbanov, chairman of the Regional Security Committee of the Kursk region. The enemy is passing through it. Groups arrive in pickup trucks and move further on. There is no situation where troops have entered and stayed. Moving further refers to attempts by the Ukrainian BTGs to penetrate deeper into Russian territory. Several roads run through Sudzha leading to Korenwebo and Rylsk, Lgov, and Kurchatov, where the Kursk nuclear power plant is located. On August 7, war correspondent Alexander Sladkov reported on an enemy raid, with a depth of up to 15 kilometers according to various reports. This depth is indirectly confirmed by the fact that the Russian Ministry of Defense mentioned the Korenwebo district. Entering it from Ukraine in this direction is possible through Sudzha. Thus, the UAF's plan became apparent, to establish control over territory with designated advance points and a planned timetable along with the direction of Ukrainian armored vehicle movements. As shown in videos released by the Russian Ministry of Defense, UAF units moved in columns along highways. The columns were protected by an abundance of air defense systems and intensified electronic warfare efforts, which disrupted our drone groups, aviation, and overall communication between units. However, these columns were met and destroyed by Russian aviation. During the night and on August 7, the enemy rotated personnel, evacuating damaged equipment to the rear, hence the presence of MTLBs in the 22nd Brigade. The enemy suffered significant losses in armored vehicles relative to the size of the attacking group. The UAF is estimated to have lost over 80 units of armored vehicles, including 6 tanks. Nevertheless, the Ukrainian BTGs continued their attempts to penetrate deeper into Russian territory on August 8. What are the goals of this UAF operation? The Washington Post suggests that Kyiv's aim may be to halt all Russian gas supplies to Europe as a pressure tactic. A gas metering station, GMS, near Sudzha, through which Russian gas continues to flow to Europe, is nearby. The Kursk nuclear power plant in Kurchatov is also occasionally mentioned. Control over both could presumably give Ukraine advantageous negotiating conditions. Gas flow through the GMS did decrease in the last 24 hours, but it did not stop. As of now, according to war correspondent Alexander Kots, the city of Sudzha has not been taken by Ukrainian forces, although the roads leading deeper into Russian territory remain dangerous due to the presence of many enemy drones. There have been no confirmed reports that UAF units have captured the GMS. Kurchatov is about 60 kilometers from Sudzha, and there have been no reports of enemy BTGs advancing in this direction. Given the rapid deployment of experienced Russian armed forces units to the region superior in numbers, equipment, and combat capabilities to any nearby UAF reserves, the possibility of capturing the nuclear power plant is now out of the question. Even if Kyiv had such an objective, it was overly optimistic from the start. A more realistic plan may have involved advancing as far as possible along 3 or 4 routes into Russian territory, capturing large and historically significant towns district centers like Rylsk and Lvov. The side effects would include extending the length of the combat contact line and stretching the Russian armed forces grouping in the Belgorod region. Occupying positions in Sudzha could complicate the supply lines for the Russian armed forces north grouping on the Kharkiv front. The UAF would gain an additional opportunity to terrorize Russian civilians through shelling. There may have been an expectation that Russia would begin withdrawing assault units and artillery from areas where the UAF is currently retreating. Notably, on August 8, reports began to emerge that the UAF started bringing reinforcements to Dzerzhinsk, Toretsk, albeit in small mobile groups. At the same time, the fate of Dzerzhinsk and New York, a town in Donetsk Oblast, is practically sealed. The UAF's reinforcement of these areas could indicate that Kyiv hopes for a reduction in pressure from the Russian armed forces. On the Pokrovsk front, the UAF is close to collapse, and the pace of the Russian advance is not slowing down. By August 8, the forward units had approached the large settlement of Grodovka, beyond which lie Mirnograd, Solidovo, and Krasnoarmeysk, Pokrovsk. This agglomeration is crucial for the entire Ukrainian defense line. Moreover, Krasnoarmeysk is the last coal basin under Kyiv's control. After its loss, Kyiv would have to rely entirely on imports. The emergence of a new theater of operations in the Kursk region was supposed to ease the pressure from Russian forces along the entire contact line and give Kyiv additional time for political maneuvering. Additionally, there is the propaganda effect. Kyiv traditionally places great importance on the image and media coverage of events. However, the further development of events does not promise anything good for the UAF. The Russian armed forces are rapidly building up their forces in the Kursk region, including battle-hardened units. Even if the UAF were to occupy Sudzha, their positions would be highly vulnerable because the entire plan was based on a rapid advance deep into Russian territory. When this plan failed, it became clear that the forward BTGs were stuck along the highways and now represent a target. Their complete destruction, which is already underway, is only a matter of time. If things go well, by the end of the week or by Monday, most of the Russian territory could be cleared of the invading groups. The enemy is fortifying villages in the border zone, but on August 7, the evacuation of residents from the Sumy region began. The enemy understands that they will not just retreat to the border but will be forced to withdraw deeper into their own territory. The main UAF reserves in this area are located near the settlement of Yunikivka, on the Kursk-Sudzha-Sumy highway. This position will definitely need to be cleared. Although this operation, with its scale and composition of involved forces, has elements of a combined arms effort, it technically resembles a large raid or a reckless assault with a suicidal element. Even under conditions of temporary UAF superiority in a narrow sector, it was difficult to expect significant advances or the capture of key strategic objects. However, it seems that once again, the desire for political and propaganda gains has outweighed common sense and military strategy in Kyiv. After 3 days of euphoria, the UAF now faces the loss of 2 strike brigades and potentially part of the Sumy region. This is a steep price to pay for demonstrating the capabilities of the UAF and seeking a favorable negotiating position.